Hello, and welcome to week 28 of Ari on TV. I'm Miss Jess. Friends, this is our last episode of Ari on TV. It has been so much fun to learn and grow with you this year. We have learned all about our faith through the lenses of deep listening, healing, stillness, imagination, beloved community, commitment, becoming, and this month, story. For our final episode, we'll hear all about how stories remind us who we are as Unitarian Universalists. When we think about stories, we often think first of picture books and fairy tales. But being a people of story is so much more. Stories tell us who we are. We have one of our favorite special guests with us this week, Miss Karen, and she is here to share with us one of the stories of our congregation. But first, welcome into this quiet place of beauty. We come from busy things. Pausing for a moment for the thoughts that quiet brings. Our chalice lighters this week are the Urba family.
We light this chalice for the warmth of love, the light of truth, and the energy of action.
This month, we've used the theme of story to learn about who we are as a family, as anti-racists, and as interconnected beings. Today, Miss Karen is here to share a story of our congregation. You see, UU congregations share a lot of things, but at the same time, no two UU communities are the same. And often their uniqueness is rooted in a very particular event in their history, like a fire or an act of justice, an argument even, or maybe a church member who became famous. Story is what keeps that event alive. And even more importantly, story is what enables that event to become the glue that binds the community together. Miss Karen?
So hi everyone, this is Miss Karen here, and I am going to tell you a story for today's RE on TV. The theme of this month is that we are a people of story, and you may think of stories as reading a book, that you can just sit and read a book, or maybe a book that somebody reads to you. But we can also tell each other stories, and some of how we remember what has happened in the past or we pass on our history is by telling stories. Each Unitarian Universalist congregation has some history and some stories that they could tell about things that have happened, events, or notable occurrences that have happened in the life of their congregation. And our congregation, and we do too, and our congregation is a relatively young congregation. We're only about 22 years old. And just before we had to leave the building and begin worshiping from our homes, we had a celebration of our 20th birthday. And many of you were there, and some of you may remember this day. You may not have known exactly what it was all about, but we were celebrating our 20th birthday. And everyone in this picture that has the sashes on, those were people who were here in the very beginning at our birthday. And those people, when we get back in the building, if you see those people, you can maybe ask them some questions to tell you some of the stories of our congregation. One of the stories I'm just going to tell briefly is about the building itself. So for many years after we started the congregation, we were a group of people, but we rented space. We didn't have a specific building that was ours and that we could meet in week after week. But at some point we decided we wanted to have our own building, and first we found the land, and then we raised the funds, and then we actually made the designs for the building. People helped with the construction. We wanted the building to be environmentally friendly, so we made sure that there were renewable materials used in the construction. We built it with solar panels on the roof and geothermal heating, and we surrounded it with native plantings that would provide food for the insects and birds, or food or shelter for the insects and birds. So part of the story of our congregation is that we had this dream to build an environmentally friendly building in South Jersey, and that we had the determination to make that into a reality. And people really loved the building, but they not only helped to dream it and pay for it, people painted the walls and laid the tiles and helped with a lot of the labor to get this building completed. So we will all look forward to when we're back in the building, and when we do get back in the building, look for some of those people that are in the picture that have the sashes, and they can tell you other stories about the building. There are lots of stories to tell. The story that I want to tell you, the main story that I want to tell you today is based on a story called The Winds of Change. And this is a story that you've heard from me and others in many different ways over the years. It's one of my favorite Universalist stories, and in part because it happened in New Jersey. But it was also the beginning of Universalism in this country, and it's a story that is 250 years old. Last year actually was the 250th anniversary of this story. So it's over 250 years old at this point. This story is about a man named John Murray. And as a young man, John Murray had excellent fortune blow his way. He had a fine education, a steady job, a loving wife, and a young son. Life was very good for him. And then suddenly everything changed. John Murray's wife and their son became sick. He spent a lot of his money trying to help them recover from their illnesses, but they both died. John lost his job, and he went into debt because he didn't have any income, and he had lost much of his money, or spent much of his money trying to save his wife and son. Because he didn't have money, he was put into jail because he couldn't pay his bills. So he went from having everything to a place where he had practically nothing. And John was a very religious man. He was a Universalist. He had studied as a minister and then heard about Universalism. He had preached about a loving God. And now, after he lost everything, he wasn't sure he even believed in God. He felt his life was over. But his friends urged him to go someplace where he could start again. And again, this was 250 years ago, so this was before the United States of America was the United States of America. It was just a new world, a new continent that had been discovered, and people were colonizing that new world. So he got on a boat and sailed for America. And the ship that he came on was named the Hand in Hand. This is a picture of that ship. It's a big sailing vessel at the time, and so the wind blew that ship toward the destination. And the destination was New York. But as they got close to New York, a fog rolled in, and the ship ran aground on a sandbar in New Jersey instead. John and others, so they were stuck and they couldn't get unstuck. And John and others volunteered to leave the ship and go on land to get some information and to get some supplies to feed the crew and everyone on the ship. When he came walking ashore, he saw a farmhouse and learned that it belonged to Thomas Potter. And Thomas Potter was an older man, and John Murray was a younger man. But Thomas Potter was a farmer and a fisherman, and he had acres of land. And he very willingly gave John Murray the fish that some fish that to feed the people on the ship and supplies for people on the ship. But then Thomas Potter invited John to come back for dinner at his homestead and to stay at his homestead. So John thought that was a pretty good idea, and he came back. And when he did come back, Thomas Potter showed him a chapel that he had built. Thomas Potter explained that he believed in a loving God who wanted to accept all people into heaven, and John said that he also believed in a loving God. Thomas Potter told John that he had built this chapel a while ago and had been waiting for God to send him a minister. You, John, he said, are that minister. I waited for you for a very long time. Well, John Murray didn't really want to hear this. He was determined never to preach again. He was trying to get away from his past and the life that he had led before. He wasn't sure he believed in God anymore. But Thomas Potter seemed confident that John was the Universalist preacher that he had waited for, and he asked John to preach on Sunday. "Oh, I can't preach on Sunday," said John. "The soon as the wind changes, my boat will set sail, and I will be on it." Well, they struck a deal. If the boat did not sail by Sunday, Thomas Potter asked if John would preach, and John Murray agreed. "If I am still here on Sunday, I will preach." So what do you think happened? Did the wind blow? Did the Hand in Hand sail away, taking John Murray with it? No, we know that part of the story. No wind blew and no ship sailed. And John Murray did preach in the church on Sunday. And there were visitors from all over the area that came to hear him speak about a loving God. And that was on Sunday morning, September 30th, 1770, in the chapel that Thomas Potter had built for him many years before. He preached a universalist message of the power of love, and that was good news to many people who heard it. It turned out it was good news for John, because the winds of his life changed after giving that sermon. Now he wanted to preach again, and he did for many years to come, and that helped to start Universalism in America. He's one of the ancestors of our faith, and we as Unitarian Universalists owe a special thanks to Thomas Potter because it was his vision and hospitality that brought John Murray back into the pulpit, and we owe a special thanks to the wind that blew him in and would not blow him out until he preached this sermon. So think for a minute about what this story tells us about Thomas Potter, who built the chapel. He believed in a loving God and was willing to wait years before the preacher arrived. He recognized in John Murray the qualities that he had, was the preacher that he was looking for. What does the story tell us about John Murray, who had given up preaching, but then returned to it after giving that sermon in what is now Lenoka Harbor? It was called Good Luck at that time. John Murray returned to preaching and started Universalism in America. He kept his word, and he discovered something about himself. He found his faith again. He was renewed. What does the story tell us about Unitarian Universalism? We believe that change happens and that goodwill endures, even in the face of hardship, and we value extending kindness and cultivating hope. So this is a plaque that is at the Murray Grove. The site where this took place is called Murray Grove, and some of you have spent time there. This was the sign out at the main road, so you will know this place. And when you go there, you may remember staying in the beds, rooming with your friends, eating in the kitchen, running in the lodge, sitting by the fire, roasting marshmallows and s'mores, swimming in the pool, or walking in the labyrinth. Look carefully at this picture. You may see some familiar faces. This was taken a while ago, but it's part of our story. Here's another picture of walking in the labyrinth. Here are some of those familiar faces, and we are gathered around a sign that recognizes the Potter Church near a restoration of that chapel. It's not the actual historic building, but it is a restored building. And when you look around the grounds, you will see other clues of the history that happened there 250 years ago. This is the Thomas Potter's grave is right behind that chapel. And recently, as a reminder of hope and renewal and the winds of change, they've purchased a new kind of playground equipment that is built to look like the Hand in Hand, the boat that arrived, that John Murray arrived on. And it has little nooks and crannies that you can kind of climb around on and have fun in, and as a reminder of this story that is 250 years old. All right, it was great meeting with you. I can't wait to see you again in person. I hope you all have a great week.
Did you know that about our congregation? Have you and your family ever gone to Murray Grove? You never know what the wind will blow in or which way the wind blows. The wind can change directions and maybe even change your life. Have you ever been surprised at something that happened in your life unexpectedly? How do you think your experiences will become part of your story? And how do your story and the story of our congregation and our faith come together? I have one of our favorite hymns this week, Peace Like a River.
I've got peace like a river, I've got peace like a river, I've
We are Unitarian Universalists. We are the congregation of the South Jersey Shore. We share a story, and that story is what has kept us together during this difficult past year. Will you say the words with me for extinguishing the chalice? We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
Try to do what's right. I'll try to face the night like a light shining brightly through the darkness, so they'll know everywhere I go that I stand for truth and justice, compassion, and liberty. I am a Unitarian. I've got my badge right here. I am a Universalist. Every day, every week, every day.
Virtual RE Lab will continue next month with RE in a box instead of on TV. And then maybe, just maybe, we'll be able to see each other in person later this summer. Until then, blessed be, my love.